and we are going to delve into this information session. So hello, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining today. I'm very happy to share with you the WCAPS Pipeline Fellowship, which the application will open up November 1st, so in less than a month, and it will run from January to May 2025. So before we get into the pipeline program, I do want to do a brief overview of WCAPS as an organization, just to provide that context for those of you who may not be familiar, and to just reintroduce it to those of you who are familiar. So here is a quote from our founder that she gave in an interview where she spoke about why she founded WCAPS and what the purpose of WCAPS is meant to achieve. And in this quote, you can see how and why the pipeline fits so beautifully into the mosaic that we're building as we continue to develop the ecosystem of women of color throughout peace, security, and conflict transformation. Our current executive director, Dr. Malika Glover, is also an amazing woman, and she just wanted to leave you guys this message that I will read very quickly, and then we will continue on with our presentation. So she says, as executive director of WCAPS, it is her honor to welcome you to the WCAPS Pipeline Program. This initiative embodies our mission to cultivate a strong and unified voice for women of color in the global's peace, security, and conflict transformation. By fostering leadership development and community engagement, the program is designed to empower you to take on the critical challenges of our time. Your unique perspectives and experiences are essential to shaping diplomacy, advocacy, inclusive policies, and driving change on the global stage. Together, we will continue to be force multipliers as we build a future where women of color lead with vision, strength, and purpose, transforming the global peace and security landscape. So with that, we're going to once again just go a little bit over WCAPS, and then we will move forward into how the pipeline program is working to achieve the goals set out not only by our founder, but our current executive director. So there are 3 different avenues that are available in WCAPS. We have our chapters, which is a space where we have global chapters, also domestic chapters to the US, that serve as an extension of WCAPS programming and our reach. Our chapters allow us to understand more of the local context and to provide support in the places where we have chapters such as Brazil, Nigeria, and 12 different countries comprising the Eastern Horn of Africa chapter. And those chapters, once again, they serve to provide that contextual information that you don't always get when you're a US-based organization. And we also really want to be mindful that we are not going into spaces saying that this is what we from the US think you need, but we are tapping on the women who are already in that space so that they can develop the programming that they know is needed within their chapter context. We also have our working groups. They are issue matter experts. There are issue matter experts focus on providing that contextual information depending on what the focus is. So it can range from CBRNE to space security law and policy, and developing what women of color, their opinions, their experiences, what research they've done in that space, what topics they think are important to highlight in that space, and how it will serve the wider audience and community in getting that information out into the wider landscape and topography. Lastly, we have our programs. So they range from the pipeline program, which is the info session that we're doing today, to our Organizations in Solidarity program, which focuses more on different organizations and nonprofits and how we can continue to further the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion in a way that not only respects what has already happened, but also notes that we have so much more work to do to make this space equitable, to make the space diverse, and to make sure that we are being respectful of all of the different identities that exist in these spaces. So with that, we are now shifting to the WCAPS pipeline program. Jada Quinlan is our program specialist. She is the individual who helped to revamp the pipeline program. She is responsible for a lot of the new topic sessions that we have within the program and in the assemblages. She is also a pipeline alumna and is currently full-time with WCAPS. And then I, once again, Adriana, hello. I work with members in programs and I assist Jada in all of the ways that she needs as our supervisor, while also looking for different initiatives and programming that we can develop at WCAPS that will serve our members. So as I mentioned at the beginning, just a brief overview of the timeline, the application opens November 1st. In December, fellows will be selected or they will be redirected. And by redirected, we mean that we will send you a list of other organizations, of other opportunities that we are aware of that exist in the peace, security, conflict, transformation landscape that are looking to diversify their applicant pool and that are available for you to apply to. In January, our assemblages begin, which is what we call our gatherings. They take place on Saturdays, and it will be 10 Saturdays from January to May for 3 hours a Saturday based on Eastern Standard Time. In April, the assemblage portion of the program ends, and we shift our focus to the publication, which will be released in May. So we have had over 200 fellows from multiple nations from all over the world. And this is a fellowship that we intentionally kept digital because once again, we are trying to be more conscientious about what equity looks like in peace, security, and conflict transformation. And one of the ways that equity shows up is making a program as accessible as possible. And so that meant for WCAPS, keeping the Pipeline Fellowship digital so that folks in Botswana, Iran, Azerbaijan, as well as in Kentucky and in Kansas could participate in programming that is typically reserved for certain geographic locations. So that was something that not only could be added to folks' resumes, but would allow them to network and connect with professionals from landscapes that they are not normally, that they don't normally have access to. I already spoke about the programming being digital, but there's also that networking component and the highlighting of our fellows who participate and the highlighting of the expertise that exists within WCAPS's ecosystem already. By tapping on our members and our partners, we're able to have them come in and be the folks who are speaking to our fellows so that they can see women of color or our partners who have done the work that they are looking forward to doing and also make those connections to potentially get more assistance as you move forward in your career. And then lastly, there is the space for the publication. There are 2 opportunities for writing within the fellowship. There is the development of a communique, which is the result of a simulation that we go through in the fellowship that focuses on negotiation and deciding what goes into a paper, what doesn't go into a paper. And this is reflective of different programs such as the Y20, Y7, Model United Nations, Model NATO, and other simulation programs such as those that require lengthy negotiation processes. Now, obviously, this is going to be truncated because pipeline does not have necessarily the same amount of time as a Model United Nations, as a Model NATO, as a Model Arab League to go into a whole lot of detail, but we did want to add that space because we know that a lot of our fellows also go on to participate in those types of programming and or have never had the access to participate in those types of programs. And so by being introduced to it within the pipeline, you're more likely to apply to it when you're looking at it from a different organization. And then also the publication, which is a research paper or a op-ed or a policy paper that is published at the end of the program. We have a 3-step process. The application is, honestly, it's fairly straightforward. Once again, we're trying to be as equitable as possible. We do not want this application to take you 20 hours to complete. We don't really want it to take you 5 hours to complete. And we also want to make sure that the questions that we're asking are specific enough so that we can learn about you, but generic enough that the materials that you develop for the pipeline can also be used for other opportunities that you're applying for. So with that said, the application consists of a Google form, a submission of your resume, and a submission of a personal statement. After that, if your application is accepted and we wish, depending on how many folks we get, you have to cut it down. If you're invited to the interview portion, you will have a 20-minute interview with pipeline staff and our facilitator. And then lastly, we will be responding to each and every person who applies for the pipeline program. As someone who is still applying for programs and fellowships and things of that nature, something that really upsets me personally is when I apply for a thing and no one responds to me. I think that that is the height of rudeness. And one of the things that we want all of our applicants to know is that we value the time and attention to detail that you put in to submitting a pipeline application. Here are our program goals. We have the networking component, which is where you're able to gather with the speakers and keep in contact with them after they've done their presentation, whether it be other women from the WCAPS network as our members or our partner organizations and connecting with them. The writing opportunities that I've already gone over in a little bit more detail. The content awareness. So we have developed our sessions based on two criteria. One, what working groups do we have and the topics that exist there? And then two, what are the areas that we recall were missing from our university education that would have helped us as we were moving forward in our careers? And then lastly, it is the skill building component, which looks at brand building, the simulation, and other practical trainings that we have put into the program to ensure that when you're coming out of it on the other end, your LinkedIn page looks more marketable, your resume, depending on your context, because resumes in Asia look a little bit different than resumes in the US. Your resume is the best it can be for your context, and you might have the tips and tricks to now develop a resume for Asia or a resume for the US. Or whatever other locational context you are hoping to work in. So those are the 4 program goals that we have, and we are always developing them. So nothing is set in stone because we want to make sure that as the world continues to change, as things continue to develop, we are altering our programming to be reflective of that so that our fellows can have the most up-to-date resources, information, access to individuals that they need to move forward with their own careers and how they want to address current events, how you want to address moving forward with finding other opportunities and things of that nature. Here are some considerations for you. 1, all pipeline activities take place in Eastern Standard Time Zone. So if you are in the East Coast of the United States, ranging from, the New England states down to Florida, you win. You have the best time slot, and I'm slightly envious, but it is okay. Attendance is also very, very important here because it is a digital program. We recognize that, things will pop up and maybe there's an event. Maybe there's something that happened family-wise and you're not able to show up. And so with that in mind, we do have an attendance policy that says, 48 hours in advance, you can let us know about any absence that you'll have, and it will be counted as an excused absence. If you have 2 excused absences, you will only be allowed 1 more absence before either being dropped from the program or being denied the ability to publish and obtain a pipeline badge. Alternatively, if you have 1 excused absence and 1 unexcused absence, you will once again either be dropped from the program or be denied the ability to publish and have the pipeline fellowship badge displayed on LinkedIn. If you are later than 15 minutes, it will be counted as an unexcused absence. Now, obviously, this is with caveats noting that access to internet sometimes changes depending on what country you're located in, and sometimes depending on the weather. So that is just something that needs to be communicated. Because this is a digital fellowship, communication with myself and Jada is going to be the most important aspect of moving forward in your fellowship, to make sure that we have the best information possible so that we can work with you to produce the best fellowship for you possible. And then lastly, as I mentioned, the publication and the simulation, which the simulation is a group project and the publication is an individual project. Also important to note, WCAPS uses APA for publications. If your publication is not in APA, if it is not in line with the examples and things that we have given you, and you are unable to edit it by the time the publication is being released, unfortunately, it will not be published. We do not want to not publish people, but we also want to make sure that everyone who is published, it's done in such a way that the publication looks clean, it looks neat, and it's very aesthetically pleasing to the eye. I already spoke a little bit about the assemblages, but this is just once again an overview. So the overall assemblage is called an assemblage. And then within the assemblage, you have multiple sessions. And those sessions are going to be topic-based. Assemblages are 3 hours in length. They start at 9 a.m. and they end at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to keep repeating that because I just want to make sure that you are aware that that is the case so that you can make the most informed decision for your schedule, whether it's your sleep schedule because you're in Australia and Eastern Standard Time is the really late at night, early morning, or it's, the middle of your day schedule because 9 a.m. sometimes on a Saturday, maybe we have to clean or we have other responsibilities that we have to take care of that make it a little bit harder to commit to that time frame. And the sessions, as I said, they will be a mix of content, which is what our guest speakers are going to be providing to you, as well as skill building, which is topics such as how to build your brand, topics such as how to write an op-ed, a research paper, what it looks like to give an elevator pitch. The simulation is also a skill building content, and others as the program continues to develop. Oh, I forgot. We also have an alumni program. We utilize LinkedIn to connect with most of our alumni. It is the easiest way not only to connect with our alumni, but also to share opportunities and different things as they come up. As the program continues to grow, so will our alumni program. For example, this fall, we are planning to host a partnered program in DC with the British Embassy. And that, once again, digital, so everyone's everywhere, right? So if we have a fellow who is in Botswana who has a connection to an organization there, and there are other alumni who are in Botswana, they have the ability to reach out to us and say they want to host a alumni gathering or event, be it in person or digital, so that we can continue to grow and develop our network and connect with one another. And now we have comments and questions. So once again, please place any comments and questions in the chat, and I'm going to just work through them as I see them. If you feel more comfortable coming off mute and asking a question, that is also completely and totally okay. I am going to stop sharing my screen though. So if you're not someone who's comfortable being recorded, you might not want to, come off. Anywho, so we have one question already that says, just checking, what is the time? It is 9 a.m. EST to 12 p.m. EST. Are there any other questions and comments? Also, hello from South Africa. And one other really important piece of the pipeline program is that you must be a WCAPS member to apply. So the membership form for WCAPS is located on our website. It is also located in the application form. So there's no way for you to miss it, but you must be a WCAPS member to apply. From Pakistan, no, you do not have to be associated with an organization or an academic institution. All you have to be is a woman of color. That is the only requirement. And WCAP membership. The WCAPS fellows are about 35, and in total for a cohort, there are 35 fellows. There are also other opportunities. Next year, we will be launching a mentorship program, two mentorship programs, one that is contingent upon being physically based in DC, as well as another that is also digital. So if you're not selected to be a pipeline fellow, there are other opportunities to get into WCAPS's network. No, if you have applied once, please don't apply again. Thank you very much. You are still active. If you submitted the membership application, even if all you do is receive our emails and check in on our social media, you are still an active member. We do two things. We do a digital certificate as well as a LinkedIn badge for you to add to your LinkedIn profile. If you are someone who does not use LinkedIn that much because it's just not relevant in your context, it does seem to be used more in like the US, Canada, UK, and those spaces, but it is slowly inching its way over to being more global. And I'm seeing different kinds of organizations and countries that are using LinkedIn more and more. That is also an option, but there will be a digital certificate that is given to you. Yes, it is open to non-binary individuals as well. The final publication will be housed on our website. It will be shared on our social media, and it will be shared with our partners. Happy to answer. Any other questions, comments, grudges, grievances, random irrelevant remarks? Also, to the publication point, you will also be able to download it because it will be on social media. So you'd have a copy of it as well for your own records. The publication topic is one of your choice. So for example, we had a fellow last year from South Africa. And she wrote about the beginnings of the shift in the music culture, specifically looking at female DJs and the advocacy and the glass ceilings that were being broken in that space, and how female DJs were also, using their platforms to then do other advocacy and push back on different policies and things of that nature, as well as something more standard, such as we had someone write about abortions and infant mortality and mother mortality for birth rates and things of that nature. So it really it depends on what your interest is and what you want to write about. So long as it is related and can be tied back to peace, security, and conflict transformation, you're golden. Yeah, I thought it was a cool topic too. All right, so if there are no other questions, I am dropping the email for Pipeline Fellowship into the chat. It is also honestly everywhere. It's on the website, it's on the everything. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to send us an email with those questions. And a reminder that the application will open up on November 1st. We are so super excited to have and receive all of your applications and, just connect with you in that way. Thank you all for attending. And if there's nothing else, I am going to close this meeting. Bye, everyone.